This week on Arizona Illustrated, in Tucson, the new normal.
We are Los Piscos.
We are currently quarantined.
Together,
yeah, luckily.
Reading on the radio for those who can't.
They put a radio in the mail, and I opened it up, and there was my new Sun Sounds radio with one station.
And we introduce you to Wyatt, an inspired young scientist who is making his mark.
Sometimes it can be gross, it can be scary, it can be interesting still, in a way.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. We're here on the University of Arizona campus, where under normal circumstances, thousands of students would be attending spring classes, participating in sports, socializing with friends, and preparing for graduation. But now, with the coronavirus pandemic, those activities have been replaced with social distancing, sheltering in place, online learning, Zoom meetings, and repeated hand washing. As the world continues to grapple with this new disease, people here in Tucson are creating and connecting in unique and hopeful ways and finding their new normal.
The Arizona Inn had not closed its doors since 1971, when the hotel first got air conditioning, until early March 2020, when concerns over the coronavirus had reality shifting almost hourly. On March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, we went around Tucson, trying our best to social distance, asking local businesses how they were adapting.
My personal mental state kind of changed when, I think just due to stress. I was kind of feeling a little bit weird last night, and it sort of hit me. I was like, well, what if I did have it? Why am I putting my employees at risk? It just doesn't seem worth it anymore.
Ben Schneider made the decision to temporarily close Tall Boys that day at 3 p.m. By the time we got to our next stop, the reality of the situation had shifted again. Tucson's mayor, Regina Romero, announced a mandatory closure of all venues where groups of people congregate, starting that night at 8 p.m.
We've been anticipating shutting down and looking forward to it, in a sense, having every place mandatorily shut down in hopes that we can limit the duration of the shutdown.
This ended up being the last day you could get a drink at a bar or eat in a restaurant for at least 40 days. The realities and anxieties of suspending operations were different for every business.
We just moved to this new spot 2 months ago. I used every ounce of energy and resource I had to do that. It's been going so well. It was like complete 180 of energy.
Closing down a large music venue like the Rialto Theater is actually quite complicated.
When we have lots of shows, we'll have as many as just over 100 people that will take a paycheck. The highest percentage of people that work here part-time and all have other employment, but that other employment is being disrupted as well. I'm concerned about them. You can't just open your doors the next day and have touring artists there. Generally, the absolute minimum amount of time for that is 2 months. Just a tremendous amount of uncertainty, which means a much lower likelihood that robust touring will resume anytime soon.
I think everyone's really concerned and confused about what to do. What's the best way to be an employer at this point? Laying people off, letting them collect unemployment until we can open again. I am trying to save enough money to reopen when that time comes. But it is Tucson, and we're going to reopen in the dead of summer, which is pretty scary.
Well, our biggest fears are paying our bills and making sure our employees can pay their bills. We had been looking at alternatives like, having liquor pickup or liquor delivery. We're going to try to take care of our employees the best we can.
This is a big part of health and mental health and happiness for people. Staying connected seems very important. People right away were like, will you do online? It's not something we've done ever before. So I've just been slamming trying to educate myself on how to, easily and accessibly do that.
We'll do it live! All right.
Good morning, Facebook. Happy Tuesday.
Floor polish was not alone. The streets emptied around Tucson. Social distancing did not actually keep us apart. People found new ways to communicate, innovate, and occupy their time online, and it was something.
Oh my god, it's like a foot-long Sonoran hot dog in chalupa form. I'm gonna show you that.
So I am Hannah Klein. I have a daughter, Lois, she's 8. Her seeing me freaked out about something is probably my biggest fear. The funny thing about TikTok was she's been talking about it for a year. I was like, I'm too old for TikTok. I can't deal with this. It's been so fun. It's her getting exercise and getting really creative. Weird enough, this whole quarantine has brought us like so much closer together.
We are Los Discos.
Together combined, we are Los Discos.
We are currently quarantined.
Together.
Yeah, luckily. We got laid off Tuesday, and then the Wednesday after, we're like, well, it's time to get to it. Right now, we just started the process of making masks for people in our community. We just got our first batch out. I think we delivered probably around like 50 masks.
60 or 60.
Yeah, the response from the community has been amazing.
Yeah.
We have created a detailed survey for musicians to basically apply for assistance.
People have reported over $90,000 in lost wages due to COVID-19 related cancellations. I launched, with the help of Katie Haverly and Hannah Levine, a Tucson Musicians Relief Fund on GoFundMe.
I'm going to talk to my friends in Birds and Arrows, and we're going to get them going on their first set of music.
We've been doing a partnership with Startup Tucson this week to give daily live performances at noon.
Hello, survivors. Welcome to the very first of hopefully very few quarantine cocktail videos. I am the bar manager of Portal Cocktail. We opened, made it 3.5 weeks, and then the quarantine hit.
It's just taking lemons and making lemonade or margaritas or whatever.
If you live through this virus, we'll see you next week for another cocktail.
It's been amazing watching all the creative energy online, but there's still something a little bit sad and definitely surreal about being inside this time of year, especially when it's so nice out. I know we'll get through this, but I do miss everybody. Hope we see you soon.
Imagine that you've lost your sight or can't hold a book because of a disability. How would you read a magazine, new novel, or your local newspaper? How would you stay informed on matters that appear in print or online? Well, there's a radio station for that called Sun Sounds, with studios in Flagstaff, Tempe, and Tucson, where they bring the printed page to listeners throughout Arizona.
Alexa, play Sun Sounds Radio on TuneIn.
Sun Sounds of Arizona from TuneIn.
From Sun Sounds of Arizona.
Dim's grandiose plans scaring off moderates. The idea is to rid ourselves of this abomination and virus threatening our very way of life, right? It seems to me that Democratic candidates would do better to stop trying to scare moderates to death with grandiose proclamations for a suddenly, radically different future, and begin concentrating upon explaining how they will in some realistic...
I read the following words.
I was born in Texas, El Paso actually, and I grew up in Central Florida, and then all my adult life I've been here in Arizona. Before my blindness, I wasn't an avid reader of the newspaper, but it became important when I couldn't do that anymore, because when you have something, you take it for granted, but then when it's gone and you can't do it, I go, oh my gosh. In my recovery, after I went to school to learn how to walk and do things again, with a cane and such, the community, I heard about Sun Sounds. So you should get a Sun Sounds radio. So I went and saw Murray, and they gave me a radio. So now I can hear what's happening in the world from the local papers or publications, and I feel like I'm back in the game.
And 5 other crimes was neither rogue nor misconduct, according to legal experts and former.
Sun Sounds is a radio reading service, and in fact a radio station that reads for people who can't read conventional print due to a disability. Oftentimes that's vision loss, but it can be more than that. It can be physical, it could be Parkinson's or MS.
Who served under 5 presidents from Jimmy Carter.
We read the morning paper live from 7 to 9:30. We read USA Today in the evening from 6 to 8.
Attorney General William Barr told ABC News on Thursday.
I have a daughter who's blind. She went to the school for the blind here. And when I registered her almost 20 years ago, Sun Sounds had a booth. So I was introduced to it. I liked what I saw. I wanted to get more involved with organizations that help the visually impaired. You can see from our facilities here, they're quite modest. Our funding is primarily through donations, grant awards. We write a lot of different grants.
And a very good morning to you.
We have here 3 employees, and we have approximately 80 volunteers. And obviously, without the volunteers, we couldn't do what we're doing.
Next up, we have Donald Duck Juice, quack, quack. 89 ounces, assorted varieties, priced $5.
My name is Ronnie Bertolio, and I read the grocery ads at Sunsound every other Wednesday. And so I've been reading the grocery ads for, 10 or 12 years.
And my name is Dan Klingler. I'm doing some Rolling Stone magazine special editions right now, and I especially like to record Western short stories. About 10 years ago, I had some serious vision problems, which luckily were correctable, but it made me decide I really wanted to give back to the community that has differing sight issues. So I've been doing this for about 4 years now. Grandpa says scientists confirm that babysitting your grandchildren can help you live longer. Just then, little grandchild walks up and says, "Grandma, I spilled a glass of grape juice on your bed, but I wiped it up with some towels. Sorry." Grandpa looks over and says, "Or maybe it just seems longer."
Well, the only real obstacle is when you don't find a BOGO sale, which is buy one, get one free. That's the only real obstacle. Otherwise, it's just a lot of fun.
Good morning, and we thank you for listening. Mark DeGroff, Ronnie Bertolio, and Dan Klingler with you this morning for the entire reading of the Arizona Daily Star. I've been with Sun Sounds for going on 10 years now as engineer running the board here and producing the Saturday morning show. I also do some outreach with the community to let people know about the existence of Sun Sounds, what we do. The main challenge is getting people to understand what we do is absolutely free.
I'm Helen Wheels. I was a musician. I was a writer. I worked doing that until I couldn't do those things anymore. A very kind librarian helped me sign up to join. They put a radio in the mail, and I opened it up, and there was my new Sun Sounds radio with one station.
The sorrel lifted her head.
With the exception of the car shows and the man show things, I don't think there's anything I don't listen to.
You don't like those car shows?
Well, it kind of makes me mad. I used to drive. So I'll tell you what, I get a little frustrated and angry because that one bothers me because I can't drive anymore. Because I haven't driven in 15 years, so it's a kind of a trigger for something I miss, and I have no replacement for, if you know what I mean. I became too sick from, the disease name is long. It's hereditary spastic paraplegia complicated version number 8. And they finally figured that out with a gene test. And the easy way to say it's a cousin of Lou Gehrig's, does the same thing, except you get cancers, blindness, and deafness too. That pretty much sums it up. Well, sighted people take it for granted. You guys just are like almost doing this kind of thing, trying to get away from the overabundance of media. I'm trying to find things that interest me and enrich my life, which Sun Sounds pretty much fills the bill for.
Taking a look at this morning's weather.
I felt when I was first, became visually impaired, I was separated from everybody, and that's just a normal thing we go through, the depression. So they helped me out of my depression is what happened, and that's why I got a soft spot for sun sounds.
It'll be a beautiful day. Highs will return to the lower 70s this afternoon.
We're doing well. We're still on the air 7 by 24, and our scheduling, our programming has been a little bit modified. We don't have volunteers coming in to record or read live. So we're doing that ourselves. I'll read the Arizona Daily Star for about an hour every day. We have heard from our listeners. I think they really depend on us a lot now to get news, to hear familiar voices, and just to have someone that they can relate to. Listenership has increased because we know it's up on the streaming, but we also know that we're fulfilling more radio orders. We're hoping that we can get all of our volunteers back. They're raring to go. They want to get back to reading.
Because we're a pandemic, I gotta know things now as opposed to what's the weather or what's going on in town. Well, I'm used to being isolated, being this severely handicapped. Being by myself, I'm going to say most all the time is how I live anyway. So that part's not different for me at all. And support groups are awesome. If you get a good one, oh, yeah. Or if you can't find one and you can function good enough, start one. Start a meetup or start one locally for whatever you think you need help with.
Science has never been more important than it is today, with climate change, space exploration, species extinction, and now novel viruses and contagions. Our next generation of scientists will be challenged with discovering new solutions, galaxies, and cures. Wyatt is one young scientist who is already making his mark.
Science, it can do big things, like electricity. That was invented by science. Lightning rods, science. The life-saving nanobots, by science. My name is Wyatt Macias. I'll have to restart. Hi, I'm Wyatt Macias. Nice and burnt. How I like it.
Did I burn your bacon?
Yeah. Are you gonna put bacon on that thing? Yeah. I am 7 years old. I go to school at Sycamore Elementary.
You like to spell too, huh? You're a good speller.
Wyatt is my oldest kid out of 3. He has always been really, really creative, energetic. He's incredibly extroverted.
What's it like being his mom?
It's like 50% like, I'm so excited for the things you're doing, and 50% like, let's steer you away from the direction you're going in.
So Wyatt, when did you get interested in science?
I've actually been interested a long time. Not since like preschool. To me, I think that like researching things and getting to learn something new is fun.
You represent your answer with the... Are all of the kids in your school as excited about science as you are?
Some kids in my class practically hate it. They think it's really hard and they don't like it. They try to do at least a bit. Sometimes it can be gross, it can be scary, it can be interesting still, in a way. What I mean by gross, in my last year science project, we used actual worms. And by scary, it could be something like the Komodo dragon, a big, ginormous, venomous lizard that's twice the size of me. Longer than this. Probably about that.
Tell me about how you did at the science fair last year.
I don't like to brag, but I got first place Sarsaff, second place Sycamore. Sarsaff give me the bigger prize.
What'd you get?
I got $70, a certificate, and a Sarsaff trophy.
One of the most exciting aspects of Sarsaff last year was he had watched a lot of YouTube videos about landfills, and there was this one guy that looks for ways to optimize landfills, and so we emailed him. Not only did he give Wyatt a ton of feedback, but then when Wyatt went on to Sarsaff, he came to town to see it in person and talk to Wyatt. What really hit home for him was this legit scientist is taking me seriously as a scientist. I really marveled how it gave him confidence, self-confidence that he has huge ideas, that he can be taken seriously even though he's a kid.
My science project this year is a engineering project. Last year it was a regular science project. I wanted to try something new. I made bioplastic, biodegradable plastic. The twist is it's made of food waste. Plastic takes 1,000 years to biodegrade or more. So, I thought that was a problem. And also, food waste, some of it doesn't take really long, like fruits and vegetables, but stuff like pizza, that takes a little longer. So, bioplastic made of food waste would biodegrade faster, plus reduce the amount of food waste in the landfill. The plastic that I made that I chose was made of avocado pits and egg whites, glycerin and vinegar, and water.
And it worked?
It did. It met all of my criteria scores and met everything it needed to be a good bioplastic.
So how long will your bioplastic take to biodegrade?
It already did. It can change the world and help plants and animals.
So do you think that this, plastic waste is a huge problem all over the world, in the oceans and as you saw at the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this could change the world?
It could be a big help.
How has your interest in science changed you, changed how you think, changed what you're into?
Well, it changed how I was into Star Wars I just thought more about how the ships would work.
I hope he finds his niche where he thrives. And so I don't care if that's, being something big or going to trade school or, wherever he thrives. And right now where he's thriving is in science.
Tie the back of that to my pit stop. This year, I don't really care about winning first place, actually. I just care that I learned something new, and if I do get a first place Sarsaff again, I wouldn't have got it without my mom.
Black mamba. Oh, fastest snake in the world, that's what it is.
The black mamba is the fastest snake in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's true. It's really fast.
She helps me get my research with her computer. She helps me with thinking when I get confused. So if I do win a Sarsaff prize, it wouldn't just be because of me, it would have been because of my mom.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you were expecting me to, or that you want to talk about, or?
No.
Anything you want to add?
No. Me and my mom practically calculated all those questions.
Oh, yeah?
Shortly after finishing this story, things changed in our community. AZPM producer Vanessa Barchfield caught up with Wyatt and his mom for an update.
First of all, I wanted to talk about the science fair. So, Wyatt, can you tell me how SARSF Science Fair, how you did this year?
Really good, actually.
We have Wyatt Macias.
Yay! I won like another $50.
That's what's important. You got do you remember the names of the awards?
No.
He won first place in his category.
Oh, I just remembered something. I also won a scientific calculator.
Yes, he won.
Which I'm gonna make video games with.
He got Texas Instruments second place. And then he won the TEP Excellence Award.
That's amazing.
I think I won that one last year too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, my mom used to work in TEP when I was in her belly, so pretty much she says that both of us worked there.
So it's appropriate that they're paying you at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So tell me about what you've been doing since in-person school was canceled.
We've been doing fun engineering things.
Can you switch off? This week we have an abundant amount of Amazon boxes all of a sudden. So we decided to study forts, and then we went down a rabbit hole of like geodesic domes, like the Epcot Center, how it's a big circle made out of little triangles. So that's what we were studying this week, and then tomorrow we're gonna.
I don't think it's triangles. I think it's
hexagons.
Yeah,
but the hexagons are made out of triangles.
Yeah. One thing I like about staying home is being able to spend time with my family. And also, me and my brother are having fun watching Zebra Gamer videos, and we're watching all the Plants vs. Zombies videos. Like, we've watched the old ones.
Okay, don't tell her all our secrets.
Thank you so much to you guys for talking to me again today.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
I'm Vanessa Barchfield, Arizona Public Media. Right, radio spot recorded.